She thought her teacher was her biggest inspiration. But one night, she discovered his darkest secret, and nothing was ever the same again. Stay till the end, because the twist will leave you breathless. Don't forget to subscribe to Lily's Romance Tales and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a story like this. The Teacher's Sinful Secret. Chapter 1, The Forbidden Crush. The first time Genevieve Williams really noticed him, she felt a rush of heat climb her skin in a way she didn't understand. Professor Adrian Cross walked into the lecture hall like he owned it, his tall frame moving with a quiet confidence that demanded attention. He was broad-shouldered, his dark suit hugging his body in all the right places, and his voice, God, that voice, was smooth, low, and deliberate, like velvet laced with steel. Genevieve told herself over and over again that her feelings were foolish. She was a student, a young woman who should be focused on grades and essays, not on the secret curve of her professor's smile or the way his eyes seemed to linger on her longer than anyone else. It's only a crush, she reminded herself. It doesn't mean anything. He doesn't see me like that. He can't. But every time she sat in his class, her resolve cracked. The way Adrian Cross's gaze swept the room and found hers, the way his lips softened when he said her name during roll call, the way his tone dropped lower when he leaned closer to explain a point in literature, it all felt like a dangerous invitation. One late evening, Genevieve found herself alone in the library. Her essay draft stared back at her, blank in all the wrong ways. She chewed her lip, frustrated, unaware that someone had stepped into the aisle until a shadow fell across her desk. Still here? The voice was unmistakable. She froze before slowly turning her head. Adrian Cross stood beside her, hands in his pockets, the faintest smile on his lips. Up close, he was overwhelming, tall, commanding, and carrying with him a subtle, intoxicating scent of expensive cologne. Yes, Genevieve stammered, clutching her pen like it could protect her. I'm still working on the essay. I can't seem to make it sound right. May I? He asked, his voice softer now. Her throat tightened. She nodded. He leaned over her shoulder, his arm brushing against hers, and began to scan her writing. Genevieve felt her pulse hammer in her ears. His warmth radiated against her, every inch of his presence making her body respond in ways she couldn't control. You have a strong voice, Adrian said finally, his tone low enough to make her shiver. You just need to trust yourself more. Genevieve's breath caught. For a moment, it was just the two of them, caught in a silence that felt like something breaking, a line they were both about to cross. But then, his phone buzzed. The spell shattered. Adrian's jaw tightened as he glanced at the screen. Genevieve caught the flash of a name before he shoved it into his pocket. A woman's name. The message preview burned itself into her mind. No one must ever know. If they find out, you'll lose everything. Genevieve blinked, her heart stumbling. Adrian straightened abruptly, his expression guarded. It's late. You should go home. She gathered her things quickly. Her thoughts a tangled storm. What did that message mean? Who was the woman? What was he hiding? As she walked toward the exit, she dared one last glance back. Adrian Cross was still standing there in the dim light of the library, staring at his phone. His face shadowed with something she had never seen on him before. Not confidence. Not charm. Fear. Genevieve stepped into the cool night air, her chest tight with questions she couldn't shake. What secret was her professor hiding? And why did she suddenly feel as though she had been pulled into something far bigger than herself? Chapter 2, The Secret Glance. The next morning, Genevieve walked into Adrian Cross's class with a restless ache twisting in her chest, She had barely slept, her mind replaying the message she had glimpsed on his phone over and over. No one must ever know. If they find out, you'll lose everything. What could it mean? Was it about her? Was he hiding some dark scandal? Adrian stood at the front of the lecture hall, perfectly composed, as if nothing had happened. His voice was calm, commanding, pulling the class into a discussion about forbidden love and poetry. But every time his eyes drifted to hers, Genevieve swore her body betrayed her, heat rushing to her cheeks, heart pounding. He didn't look at anyone else like that. Not with such intensity. At the end of class, as students shuffled out, Genevieve gathered her books slowly, hoping he might approach her. Instead, when she opened her notebook, something slipped out from between the pages. A folded slip of paper. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Meet me after class. Alone. Her heart leapt to her throat. She looked up, but Adrian was busy with another student, his expression carefully neutral. For the rest of the day, Genevieve was a mess of nerves. Every sound made her jump, every thought led back to the note. When the final bell rang, she lingered in the empty classroom, her body humming with anticipation. The door creaked open. Adrian stepped inside. He closed the door behind him and leaned against it, watching her with unreadable eyes. Professor Cross, Genevieve whispered, her voice trembling. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly, though his tone betrayed no real anger. Then why did you ask me to stay? She whispered back. Silence hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Then, slowly, Adrian crossed the room until he was inches from her. His hand brushed her arm, a touch so light it sent sparks rushing through her. You don't understand what you're doing to me, he murmured. Her breath hitched. Before she could reply, he pulled away suddenly, pacing the room like a man at war with himself. This is wrong. You're my student. I should never, he stopped, raking a hand through his hair. But I can't stop thinking about you, Genevieve. The confession stole the air from her lungs. She opened her mouth, desperate to respond, when the sharp sound of heels echoed down the hall outside the classroom. Adrian froze, his eyes darkening with something close to dread. The footsteps slowed, stopping just outside the door. Genevieve's pulse thundered in her ears as a shadow passed across the glass window of the door. Who was out there? And why did Adrian look so terrified? Chapter 3, The First Taste of Sin. The footsteps outside the classroom door grew louder, then faded down the hall. Genevieve let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Adrian's shoulders relaxed slightly, but his face was still tense, shadowed by something she couldn't name. What was that? She asked in a hushed voice. He shook his head. Nothing you need to worry about. But his words didn't match the fear still etched in his eyes. Adrian turned toward her again, his jaw tight. For a moment, he looked like he was about to dismiss her, to end this before it began. But then his gaze fell on her lips. Genevieve froze. She could feel the tension thickening the air, pulling them together like gravity itself. Adrian, she whispered, not even realizing she had used his first name. His control broke. In 2 strides he was in front of her, his hand sliding against her cheek, his lips crashing onto hers with a hunger that stole her breath. The kiss was wild, desperate, the kind that made her knees weaken and her mind dissolve into fire. She gasped against his mouth, clutching his shirt, feeling the hard lines of his body against hers. Every warning in her head screamed at her to stop. He was her professor, this was forbidden, but her body betrayed her, arching closer, craving more. When he finally pulled back, his breathing was ragged. This can't happen, he said hoarsely, his hand still cupping her face. If anyone finds out. Then they won't, Genevieve cut in, her voice trembling but certain. I don't care. I don't want to stop. Adrian closed his eyes, pressing his forehead against hers. For a long moment, neither of them moved, caught between reason and desire. Finally, he kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, as though savoring every second. It was dangerous. It was reckless. But for Genevieve, it felt inevitable. As she slipped out of the classroom much later, her lips swollen and her body trembling, she thought the hardest part would be keeping their secret. But then she froze. Parked just outside the building was a sleek black car. Inside, through the tinted window, she caught the faintest glimpse of a woman watching. Her features were sharp, elegant, predatory. Her lips curved into a knowing smile before the car pulled away. Genevieve's stomach dropped. Who was that woman? And why did it feel like she had just witnessed something far more dangerous than a kiss? Chapter 4: A Dangerous Woman. For the rest of the evening, Genevieve couldn't shake the image of the woman in the black car. Those piercing eyes, that knowing smile, it hadn't been casual. Whoever she was, she had been watching. By the next morning, she tried to convince herself it was nothing. Just a stranger. Just her imagination. But deep down, she knew better. When she walked into Adrian's lecture, he looked as composed as ever. Crisp suit, controlled expression, steady voice as he guided the class through Shakespeare's most tragic love stories. Yet, every now and then, his eyes flicked toward her, and Genevieve felt her body respond with heat she couldn't hide. After class, she lingered, waiting for the room to empty. When it was just the two of them, she approached him, lowering her voice. Who was she? Adrian's expression didn't shift, but his grip on the desk tightened. Who? The woman, Genevieve pressed. Last night. In the car. She was watching us, wasn't she? For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then he let out a breath, his jaw tense. You shouldn't concern yourself with her. Don't lie to me, Genevieve whispered, her voice shaking. If you want me to trust you, then tell me who she is. Adrian looked at her, his dark eyes unreadable, as if weighing whether to let her into a part of his world he had kept hidden. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. Her name is Victoria Lane. And she's dangerous. The name alone sent a shiver down Genevieve's spine. She was once important to me, he admitted reluctantly. But she's not anymore. What you need to understand is that she's the kind of woman who doesn't let go easily. And if she saw us together, he stopped, running a hand through his hair. Genevieve, if she decides to make trouble, everything could come crashing down. Genevieve's chest tightened. Are you saying she's going to expose us? Adrian's lips pressed into a hard line. I'm saying she knows how to destroy people. And she will, if she wants to. He stepped closer then, his hand brushing against hers. But I won't let her. Not when it comes to you. Genevieve's heart raced as he kissed her, firm and possessive, as though staking his claim. For a moment, all fear melted away in the fire of his touch. But later that night, as she walked back to her apartment, a chill ran through her. She felt eyes on her. Glancing over her shoulder, she caught sight of a familiar sleek black car parked under a street lamp. And inside, Victoria Lane, her lips curling into that same cold, knowing smile. Genevieve's steps quickened, her heart thundering. Why was Victoria watching her? And what did she already know about the secret she and Adrian were trying so desperately to hide? Chapter 5: Nights of Fire. The days that followed felt like a fever Genevieve couldn't escape. Every lecture, every glance, every stolen moment with Adrian only pulled her deeper into the storm. At first, they tried to resist. Polite smiles, casual exchanges, pretending nothing had happened. But the tension only grew stronger, suffocating in its intensity, until one evening Adrian gave in completely. He asked her to meet him at a discreet hotel on the edge of town. The moment Genevieve stepped through the door, his control shattered. His mouth found hers in a desperate kiss, his hands roaming as though he had been starving for her. She melted against him, surrendering to the heat that burned between them. Clothes fell away. Boundaries dissolved. Their bodies moved in perfect rhythm, every touch, every gasp igniting something wild and forbidden inside them. It wasn't just lust. It was need. It was danger wrapped in desire. Afterward, tangled in the sheets, Adrian held her like a man afraid to let go. His lips brushed her temple as he whispered, "You don't know what you're risking by being with me." Genevieve traced her fingers along his chest, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "Then make me understand. Tell me the truth." But he only kissed her again, deeper, as if the truth was something he wasn't ready to give. For weeks, their secret meetings continued. Hidden touches in quiet corners. Stolen hours in hotel rooms where passion erased the outside world. Every time, Genevieve swore it would be the last, and every time, she came back, unable to resist him. Still, Victoria's shadow lingered. One night, after Adrian had fallen asleep beside her, Genevieve rolled over to check her phone. The screen lit up with a notification she didn't recognize. Her breath caught. It was a message from an unknown number. "Your professor isn't who you think he is. Stop this, or you'll regret it." Her hands trembled as she read it again and again. Then, slowly, her eyes shifted to Adrian, asleep and vulnerable in the moonlight. Genevieve's heart raced. Who had sent the message? And what exactly was Adrian hiding from her all along? If you're still here, it means this story has captured your heart. Don't keep the magic to yourself, hit subscribe, tap the bell so you'll never miss the next chapter, and share this with friends who love audiobooks as much as you do. Your support keeps these stories alive. Chapter 6, The Past Unveiled. Genevieve couldn't sleep that night. The message burned in her mind like a brand. Your professor isn't who you think he is. By morning, she was restless. She confronted Adrian before class, cornering him in his office where the smell of books and coffee lingered. Tell me the truth, Adrian, she demanded, clutching her phone. Who sent this? And what aren't you telling me? His eyes flicked to the message, and for the first time, Genevieve saw fear ripple through his calm exterior. He closed the office door, locking it, then turned back to her with a heavy sigh. You weren't supposed to get dragged into this. That's not an answer, Genevieve pressed, her voice trembling. Who is Victoria Lane? Why does she keep showing up? For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, finally, his gaze dropped. Victoria was my fiancée, he confessed. The words hit Genevieve like a slap. Fiancé? Yes, Adrian said quietly. We were engaged. Years ago. But it wasn't love, it was power. She comes from an old, wealthy family. Her father had connections, influence. Marrying her would have guaranteed me a career, money, everything. Genevieve's chest tightened. But you broke it off? Adrian's jaw clenched. I walked away the night before the wedding. I couldn't go through with it. I couldn't tie myself to someone I didn't love. Victoria never forgave me. He moved closer, lowering his voice. She's been following me ever since. Watching. waiting for me to slip. And now she knows about you. Genevieve's heart raced. She's the one who sent the message, isn't she? Adrian nodded grimly. Victoria doesn't bluff. If she says you'll regret this, she means it. She'll do whatever it takes to ruin us both. Genevieve swallowed hard, torn between fear and the pull of his closeness. So what happens now? Adrian cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. Now, we're careful. We keep this between us. And no matter what she tries, we don't let her win. His kiss was slow, tender, a promise of protection, but beneath it, Genevieve felt the weight of secrets he still wasn't sharing. That night, she dreamed of Victoria's cold smile, of shadows creeping closer, and of a future built on a foundation that could collapse at any moment. When she woke, a new message waited on her phone. If you want the truth about Adrian, meet me. Alone. Tomorrow night. Genevieve's pulse quickened. Should she go and meet Victoria? Or was she walking straight into the hands of a woman who could destroy everything? Chapter 7, The Forbidden Meeting. The next day passed in a blur. Genevieve couldn't focus in class, couldn't eat, couldn't think of anything except the message on her phone. If you want the truth about Adrian, meet me. Alone. Tomorrow night. Every instinct screamed at her to ignore it. Adrian had warned her, Victoria was dangerous. But the curiosity was unbearable. What if Adrian was hiding more than he admitted? What if the message wasn't just a threat, but a warning? By nightfall, she had made her choice. She slipped out of her apartment quietly, her heart pounding as she followed the address Victoria had sent. It led her to an upscale hotel bar, dimly lit, filled with whispers of expensive perfume and clinking glasses. And there she was. Victoria Lane sat in a corner booth, elegant as sin itself. A black silk dress hugged her frame, diamonds glittering at her ears. Her red lips curved into that same knowing smile as Genevieve approached. Genevieve Williams, Victoria purred, her voice like velvet dipped in poison. You're even prettier up close. No wonder Adrian couldn't resist you. Genevieve stiffened but sat down. What do you want from me? Victoria leaned forward, her eyes sharp. To save you. Genevieve blinked. Save me? From what? Victoria's smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. From him. Adrian isn't who you think he is. He's charming, yes. Brilliant, yes. But he's a liar. And his lies will destroy you if you're not careful. Lies? Genevieve whispered. What lies? Victoria swirled the wine in her glass, taking her time before answering. Did he tell you why he left me at the altar? No, of course not. Adrian loves half-truths. The real story is far darker. He didn't just walk away from me, he ruined my family in the process. My father lost his business. My mother, she never recovered. Adrian has a talent for destruction, Miss Williams. And you're his next masterpiece. Genevieve's stomach twisted. She wanted to deny it, to defend him, but the conviction in Victoria's tone gnawed at her resolve. And you know what's worse? Victoria added, leaning closer, her perfume intoxicating. You think you're the only one. But you're not. Adrian has a history of students. Bright young women who fall for his charm. Do you want to see the proof? She slid an envelope across the table. Genevieve's fingers trembled as she reached for it, her heart hammering so loudly she could barely breathe. Inside the envelope was a photograph, Adrian, smiling intimately with another young woman. And written across the bottom in bold red ink, you're just the next one. Chapter 8, Broken Trust. Genevieve sat awake all night, staring at the photograph. Adrian's arm around another young woman, his smile soft and intimate. The red words scrawled across it, "You're just the next one," burned into her mind. When dawn came, she felt sick. Was Victoria right? Had she been nothing more than another secret in a long line of hidden affairs? By the time she saw Adrian on campus, her chest was tight with anger and betrayal. She waited until his office was empty before she stormed inside, throwing the photograph onto his desk. "Explain this," she demanded, her voice shaking. Adrian froze when he saw it. His face paled, his usual calm cracking. "Genevieve," he began carefully. "Don't Genevieve me," she snapped. "Who is she? Another student? Another girl you seduced with your charm and promises?" Adrian's jaw clenched. He picked up the photo, staring at it for a long moment before answering. Her name was Evelyn. She was a student, yes. But it wasn't what you think. "That's exactly what Victoria said you'd say," Genevieve whispered, her throat tight. Adrian looked at her sharply. "You met her." The silence was enough of an answer. Genevieve looked away, ashamed but defiant. "She showed me this. She told me you've done this before. That you ruin people." Was she lying? Adrian's shoulders dropped, the weight of his past pressing down on him. "Evelyn and we cared for each other. But it ended badly. She left, and I swore never to cross that line again. Until you." Genevieve's eyes stung with tears. "How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to know I'm not just another Evelyn?" He stepped closer, desperation in his voice. "Because you're not. You're different, Genevieve. I love you." The words hung between them, heavy and trembling. But Genevieve couldn't answer. Not with Victoria's warning echoing in her mind, not with the photograph burning in her pocket. She turned away, her chest aching. "I don't know if I can trust you anymore." Adrian reached for her hand, but she pulled back, her body trembling with confusion and doubt. For the first time, she saw not just the powerful, confident man she'd fallen for, but the cracks, the shadows, the secrets that clung to him like a second skin. And as she walked out of his office, one thought consumed her. Maybe she had made a mistake that would cost her everything. As Genevieve wiped her tears and stepped into the hall, her phone buzzed with another message. "If you want to know the whole truth, meet me again. Tonight. Alone." It was Victoria. Chapter 9, Temptation and Betrayal. Genevieve sat on her bed, the glow of her phone lighting up her face. Victoria's message stared back at her. "If you want to know the whole truth, meet me again. Tonight. Alone." Her heart was torn in two. Adrian's words, "I love you," still lingered in her ears. But so did Victoria's icy voice, dripping with conviction, "He ruins people. You're his next mistake." By evening, she found herself outside the same hotel, nerves sparking through her veins. She told herself she wasn't betraying Adrian, that she only wanted answers. But deep down, she knew this was dangerous. Victoria was waiting in the same booth, a glass of red wine in hand. She smiled as Genevieve approached, her eyes glittering like a predator who had already won. "Back so soon," she purred. "I knew you'd come." He always leaves them doubting. Genevieve sat down stiffly. "I don't want games, Victoria. Tell me what you know." Victoria leaned forward, her voice low and deliberate. "What Adrian didn't tell you is that Evelyn wasn't the first. And she wasn't the last. His history with students is longer than he'll ever admit. He's addicted to them, Genevieve. To the thrill, the secrecy, the control. Genevieve's stomach twisted, but Victoria wasn't finished. You think you're special because he tells you he loves you? He said the same thing to me, once. He says it to all of them. That's not true, Genevieve whispered, though her voice trembled. Victoria smirked. Isn't it? If you don't believe me, I can show you proof. She slid a flash drive across the table. Messages. Photos. Everything. Genevieve stared at it, her hand hovering over the small piece of metal that could shatter everything she thought she knew. You deserve better than being his dirty little secret, Victoria said softly, almost gently now. You deserve to know the truth. And once you see it, you'll never look at him the same way again. For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then Genevieve reached out and took the flash drive. Victoria's smile was triumphant, but her eyes glittered with something darker, possession, satisfaction. As Genevieve stood to leave, Victoria's voice followed her, smooth and lethal. Be careful, darling. Once you see the truth, there's no going back. That night, Genevieve sat at her desk, staring at the flash drive in her palm. Adrian's number flashed across her screen. He was calling, again and again. But she didn't answer. With shaking hands, she slid the drive into her laptop. The screen lit up. Folder after folder appeared. And inside them, pictures. Adrian with Evelyn. Adrian with other women. Smiles, touches, kisses. Her vision blurred with tears. Had it all been a lie? Just as she clicked on one final video file, the door to her apartment burst open. Adrian stood there, his face pale, his eyes fixed on the laptop screen. Chapter 10, The Sinful Secret. The room froze in silence. Genevieve's heart hammered in her chest as Adrian stepped inside. His eyes locked on the laptop screen where folder after folder displayed images of him with other women. His face turned ashen, his jaw clenched tight. Where did you get that? His voice was low, dangerous. Genevieve rose from her chair, her voice shaking. So it's true? All of this? The other girls? You told me I was different, Adrian. You said you loved me. Adrian shut the door behind him, his movements sharp. Genevieve, listen to me. This isn't what it looks like. She laughed bitterly through her tears. That's exactly what guilty men say. He crossed the room, grabbing her wrists gently but firmly, forcing her to look into his eyes. Those pictures, they're real, yes. But they're not what Victoria wants you to believe. She's twisting the truth. Twisting the truth? Genevieve's voice cracked. Then explain it. Because right now, all I see is a man who preys on his students. Adrian's face softened with desperation. I cared for Evelyn, I cared for the others, but not like I care for you. You have to believe me. Victoria is using my past to destroy me, and now she's using you. Genevieve's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him, but the evidence sat right there on her screen. And Victoria's words echoed in her mind like poison. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A new message flashed across the screen. Don't trust him. Come to me. Tonight. Or you'll both regret it. Adrian saw it. His grip tightened. She won't stop until she's taken everything from me. From us. His voice dropped to a near whisper. Genevieve, there's something I haven't told you. Something even Victoria doesn't know. Her chest constricted. What do you mean? He hesitated, his jaw trembling as if speaking the words might destroy them both. Finally, he whispered. Victoria isn't just my ex. She's my half-sister. The air seemed to shatter around her. Genevieve stumbled back, the revelation slamming into her like ice water. What? Adrian's eyes darkened with shame. It's complicated. Her father, my father, we share blood. That's why she's obsessed. It's not just about revenge. It's about power, control. She doesn't want me to love anyone else. And she will do anything to stop me. Genevieve's knees weakened as the truth settled like a storm around her. She had fallen in love with a man bound to a family secret darker than she could have imagined. And then, before she could ask another question, the lights in her apartment flickered, then cut out entirely, plunging the room into darkness. From the street outside, the unmistakable sound of a car door slamming echoed. Adrian stiffened. She's here. Genevieve's breath caught as she peered through the window. Parked under the street lamp was that familiar black car. And this time, Victoria Lane wasn't alone. A shadowy figure stepped out beside her. Someone Genevieve recognized instantly. Her own mother. Thank you for listening to The Teacher's Sinful Secret. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Lily's Romance Tales for more stories of love, passion, and dangerous secrets. Stay tuned, because the next chapter will change everything.